Okay, so I obviously don't have a Canon R5C, but don't click away because a lot of people are about to find themselves in the same situation that I'm currently in. So I currently shoot with the Canon EOS RP, and I was planning on upgrading camera bodies as my professional photography career grew. Now the camera I was going to purchase was going to be the Canon R5, which costs about $5,200 in Canada. And for comparison's sake, the Canon R5C is going to cost $6,000 in Canada. Now this is a marginal difference when you're looking at camera bodies. Now I understand that $800 is a lot of money and is nothing to sneeze at by any means, but if you're willing to purchase a $5,200 camera body, then in most cases you should be willing to take that higher step up to the higher price range if the difference is small enough and the performance or the quality in turn is good enough for you to upgrade to that next camera body. So for the sake of this comparison, we're really not going to consider price as a main determinant. But there are three main categories that I want to discuss, which are supposed to be the main differences between the Canon R5 and the Canon R5C. Now, as always, I'm going to leave timestamps below so you guys can jump into whatever category of difference that you're most interested in. But the three topics that I really want to talk about, which are the main differences between the Canon R5 and the Canon R5C, are record times, stabilization, and batteries or battery life. Now, there's also that obvious difference of operating systems for the way the Canon R5C is designed, whereas there's two different operating systems depending on if you're in photo or in video mode. But these are really user interface changes, and they don't change the end product or the output from either of these cameras. So they're not hardware changes. Both of the cameras, the Canon R5 and the Canon R5C, still maintain the same 45 megapixel sensor. So for the sake of this comparison, we're not really considering these smaller aspects or these smaller tweaks. We want to see what aspects are really going to affect our end product and help us decide which camera is better for us. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about record times first. Now, if you're someone who records a lot of long-winded talking heads, interviews, or documentaries, you can stop watching this video right now. The Canon R5C is made for you. Literally, the fans on the Canon R5C basically give it an infinite record time in 4K HQ or 8K RAW or any of the high demand modes, something that the Canon R5 could not do. So these fans will basically give you infinite record time until your batteries run out or you're out of storage on your memory cards. Now, if you're someone who's like me, who takes a lot of short travel clips, shoots a lot of B-roll, does a lot of content creation for social media, I don't know if the overheating is really a big issue for you on the Canon R5. It's something that I never really even thought about or considered when I was thinking of purchasing the Canon R5 because I understand myself as a shooter. I know that I'm not going to be doing a lot of long-winded videos or anything like that. And with the latest updates, latest firmware updates on the Canon R5 and all the tests that have been done, you can pretty much get an hour of record time out of the Canon R5 in 4K HQ, which for me personally is more than enough. So you really have to understand what kind of shooter you are. So like I said, for me, the new fans on the Canon R5C are not really a big enough differentiator for me to jump to the Canon R5C now over the Canon R5. Okay, so next up, let's talk about stabilization. And this is the one that has me really going back and forth. So the Canon R5 has IBIS, or internal body image stabilization, and the Canon R5C is going to have digital IS, which is digital image stabilization. Now, the reason Canon claims they did this is that most people using the R5C are going to be in a high production environment and will likely not be relying on the IBIS alone and will likely have the R5C on some kind of gimbal or on some kind of rig. Now, I do understand that sentiment up to a certain point. Now, I use the Canon EOS RP, and I will say the digital image stabilization on it is completely garbage. Even when I pair it with stabilized RF glass, I literally struggle really hard to get any kind of smooth shot. So I was looking really forward to getting the Canon R5 and using that IBIS to finally get smooth footage without having to use a gimbal. So for this area of comparison, I'm really gonna have to wait until the camera is out there in like the real world and with actual people who do some side-by-side comparisons or some tests, because I need to know which stabilization method is better, even though Canon is claiming that their digital IS will be better. but I need to see it for myself because stabilization is something that is really important to me, something that the Sony a7S III does really well, but I'm pretty loyal to Canon, like I have no shame in admitting that. So I do want to get a camera which has some kind of really good stabilization system as my next camera body upgrade. Also, the Canon C70 has digital image stabilization and not a lot of people seem to complain about that. So like I said, we're gonna have to wait to see what the stabilization looks like when these cameras can actually be compared and the R5C comes out into the real world. And finally, we have battery life. Now this one truly frightens me. I watched Peter's vlog with Maddie of them using their Canon R5Cs to record, and it literally gave me anxiety at how many batteries they had and how many batteries they took with them. And it was even crazier that they actually killed all those batteries between the two of them. So in some instances, I've even heard that the Canon R5C was only able to record for up to 20 minutes. Now, if you ask me, I'd rather have the overheating than just a 20-minute record time. I don't even think I could fill up a memory card that quickly, or I could overheat the camera that quickly on the Canon R5. So battery life is something to consider. If you're, again, standing still and have the camera plugged into an external power outlet, or you have some kind of external power bank attached to it, then that's totally cool. But if you're not willing to do that and you want the most run and gun setup with the longest lasting battery, then in this instance I feel like the Canon R5 is still better. But again, we're gonna have to wait until the R5C is really out there in the world so we can compare battery times. So in Canada, the Canon R5C releases on March 15th. So we are going to unfortunately have to wait to have some of these questions answered. But I just wanted to put this video out because I think that a lot of people have this thought in the back of their mind that, hey, now that the R5C is out, should I really purchase it over the Canon R5? And this is a thought that I have every single day. Before, my decision was really clear cut for me. I was going to get the Canon R5, but now that Canon has released this camera that everyone who has it in their hands is saying really amazing stuff about it, it makes that decision much harder. But again, they do have the same sensor at the end of the day, and we won't really know what the image quality looks like out of the R5C until it's out there in the real world. And I can't imagine it being that completely different. And if it is, then that might be a reason to purchase the Canon R5C, and it might justify the higher sticker price. But for me, as things stand on paper, the Canon R5 still seems the way to go for most people. And if you're watching this video and you have thoughts on this topic, please comment below or DM me because I am confused. But that's it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, as always, please leave a like at the bottom. If you guys are into photography, filmmaking, drones, the new Canon R5C, then definitely subscribe to this channel. I would really appreciate it. Other than that, that's all for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. And until then, keep creating.